okay. I'm doing okay. We'll see tonight. Today is the iClear deadline. Who's working on iClear? Okay. All right. Well, hopefully you'll be working on ICML after this course. Okay. All right, so I guess it is officially start time. So thank you so much for registering for this course. I'm really excited to teach it. I want to first kind of get a poll of the class. So how many folks are CS grads? Okay, nice. How many folks are grads from another department? Good chunk, okay. And what departments do we have? Can you just yell it out if you feel brave? Marketing. Well, I knew that. Yeah. Mechanical engineering. Okay. Somebody else? Say again? Operations research and economics. Economics, right? Okay, nice. Any others we're missing? Neuroscience. Very cool. Yeah. I did let in grad students from other departments because I think it keeps it pretty interesting. We get some nice perspectives on the class. So that's good. And how many CS undergrads? Hello. I know you. Cool. Okay. So the class was super oversubscribed. So we're currently like overloaded for the number of TAs we have, which, hi, there's our TA. Do you want to come up for a second? And get right started into this. Yeah, sorry. Okay, so this is Yancheng Liang, who's our TA. Do you want to say anything about yourself? Or?
Yeah, and thanks everyone for taking the class.
Okay, okay, sounds good. Yeah, so we're super oversubscribed, which is going to make a lot of work for Yancheng and myself. So we had like there was only 30 spots. I registered 40 people, but there's still like 55 people petitioning to get in. So if you're not vibing with it and you're like, this is not my style, do drop and then we can like let more people in. So yeah. Cool. Okay. So let's just get straight into it. We have our website up. It's beautiful. Thanks to Yancheng. So you can check out, that's going to have all the information you need, the syllabus, everything. I'm going to go through that in this lecture. But before I do, I kind of want to talk about like, what the heck do I mean by social RL and give you a pitch for why it's cool. And then talk about kind of the topics that will be covered. We're then going to do the more boring logistics, grading, And this lecture, I'm going to give you a sort of a crash course in deep reinforcement learning, because that's going to be kind of the fundamental technical tools that we use in the course. How many people have experience with deep RL already? Great. So almost everyone. I did put a bunch of resources you can check out if you haven't. But yeah, that is going to be something we're building on. And how many people, if you don't do deep RL, what other tools do you use? Do you use LLMs? Okay, so that's going to be a chunk of the course as well. Anything else I might be missing? Statistical modeling for like economics or something? Favorite tool of choice? Anyone want to yell? It's like deep learning. How many people have taken like a machine learning class? Okay, that's good. Cool. All right, so what the heck is social RL? So this is like a standard slide I usually use to talk about the work that our group kind of does. But the key question that we're trying to answer is how can we accelerate AI when you're learning in an environment with other intelligent agents? And my argument is basically every environment is that. So if you think about, AI as we see it today, often where you're interacting with chatbots or something, that's an environment where you're interacting with a human. And that human is smart and best responds to the agent. So this is fundamentally a multi-agent problem. So this is the kind of stuff we look at. Learning from human feedback, training language models with RL is going to be a big focus of the course. Human AI coordination. So I was fortunate to be part of this team that trained a robot that could play in real time with humans using AI. So I think it's the first to do that. Play ping pong, sorry. Multi-agent RL, classic stuff. And then like using multi-agent RL to do adversarial training to make more robust machine learning algorithms. So in sense, what we're talking about here is we're learning, we're doing machine learning, we're doing AI when we're in an environment where we can learn from another intelligent agent, whether that's humans or whether that's a more classic multi-agent environment where the other agents are also AI. But the key point is humans are agents. So the way we think about multi-agent learning applies to learning from humans. Humans are smart, they're adaptive. How do we actually account for that when we're designing learning algorithms? Okay, so why is this cool? Why should we study this? I want to do a quick poll of the class because I think this strongly affects the vibes. So how many of us here, I'm going to say all the things first, then I'll get you to raise your hand, kind of have like a short AGI timeline. They're reading a lot of Twitter. They might think that, you know, LLMs are already AGI, or that they're going to replace all human jobs. We got KJ in the back, okay? Or, okay, so that's one camp. The other camp is maybe a little more practical. They're like, I don't know, but I really would like it if we could just make a robot that would do my dishes. That would be extremely helpful for me. Okay, so how many people are in AGI believer camp? Okay, we got a few in the back. Okay, how many people want the household robot? Okay, so we're leaning household robot. Good. Well, just in case, I prepared a pitch for both camps. So if you're chronically on Twitter, this following pitch is for you. And then if you're a household robot person, we'll give you that. So for the AGI believers in the house, let's think about this. Current foundation model training techniques actually provide no safety guarantees. So scarily enough, over 1 billion people are already using LLMs basically on a weekly basis. How many people are using LLMs on a weekly basis? Almost 100% of the class. Okay, yeah. So it makes sense, right? This is a little scary though when we consider that there's no way to actually ensure these models are safe. So they can tell users how to build a bomb or a bioweapon. They can reveal copyrighted or personally identifiable information, which is a problem if you're like a big corporation training these things. And of course, Grok, they can have, you know, biased or discriminatory outputs. Like these things are trained on the entire internet with essentially no checks and balances to make sure that they're not ingesting toxicity from the internet, except RLHF, which is one of the techniques we'll talk about this week, actually. So there's kind of very, very little to actually make sure these models are safe. And we're not going to solve it with more data. So this is Ilya Sutskever's NeurIPS Test of Time Award speech from the most recent NeurIPS, which was December 2024. And he says, pre-training is dead. So data is the fossil fuel of AI. So what does he mean by that? Can anyone tell me? Yes.
Essentially, we've scaled pre-training so far that we've used all the good data that we have. And so if we want to keep the scales, we need to either find new data or do something different.
Yeah. And what is pre-training? Just for make sure we're all on the same page. Sure, if somebody else wants to answer. You're the expert, so.
You just looked at me, so.
Okay, okay.
Pre-training, essentially for a language model, you take web scale data, which is trillions of tokens. You say web scale because it's from the internet, but we really include documents from all other sources like
all the books we can
books
pirate and burn.
Pirate books or take them, chop them up and scan them, and that's more legal. But and then you just do next token prediction on it over and over and over again until your model sounds pretty good.
Yeah. And for anyone, was that news, or who was familiar with that already? Good. Okay, cool. Just getting a temperature check. So that's pre-training. He's saying, Ilya Sutskever was a prominent guy at OpenAI for a long time. He's since left. But essentially he's saying, we've scraped the entire internet. We've downloaded all the books we could illegally pirate, which was OpenAI, or who was doing that?
They all were.
Okay.
Just
Okay, so they got sued. They've got all the text humanity has ever written has been trained into these models. And this is as good as they've gotten from that. So if we want to make them safer, better, smarter, data is not the answer. More scaling is not the answer. So what does this imply? What do we think? For the AGI folks in the back. Yes. Okay, great. Thanks for going to my setup. I'll make it a little more general. We need better algorithms, right? So we need something more than just data and scale. Yes, I was going to reinforcement learning. Thanks for the mind read. Of course, the class is called that. I will say reinforcement learning post-training has had really transformative impact. So what's the key differentiator between ChatGPT and prior GPT versions? Come on. Yes.
It's for you to follow instructions and chat in like multi-turn format. I'm just giving straightforward answers to one question.
Correct, it is. So it's trained to actually chat, but how was it trained to do that? Say again? RLHF, exactly. So RL post-training, right? So, this, we could argue that why we're seeing such a transformative AI era is really the application of RL. And what I would say, I take this outside, but if pre-training is dead, I think RL is just beginning. Like the techniques we use for RL, I think are actually still relatively immature, and the level of expertise of people who really understand both NLP and RL well and are contributing in this area is weirdly small given how like economically valuable it is. So that's why I think it's an interesting thing to focus on. But RL is still not magic, right? So it just optimizes for the rewards on the tasks that you give it. RL is fundamentally just an optimization tool, right? It's doing long-term optimization over a sequence of behaviors to get some reward, which we'll talk about more. And this paper came out and showed, look, RL is only going to take behaviors that you have in your base model that your base model is already capable of generating and upweight the ones that lead to higher reward. But your base model was already capable of it. And this is actually kind of an obvious point because that's how the RL post-training objective works. It says maximize the RL reward while restricting divergence from the base model. So that's just what it does. But fundamentally, what this is saying is you're still going to be handicapped by your data, right? And maybe your data is all the text humanity has ever generated. That's fine. RL is still going to do a lot, but you're not generating new data. But what if you could? So how could we actually learn interesting and new behaviors? What I'm really excited about, and this is kind of my pet thing right now, but it's not the only thing we'll talk about in the course, multi-agent RL lets you leverage the powerful generation capabilities of LLMs to actually generate new training data on the fly, adapted to the needs of your learning model. And so what that lets you do is get theoretical guarantees leveraging results from game theory, and you can make safer models, which we'll talk about, and you could potentially unlock capabilities through continuous self-improvement. So imagine your LLM is writing you new math problems on the fly to correct weaknesses and why you can't solve math problems. That's going to get you somewhere farther than just training out a fixed data set of curated math problems, right? So this is kind of the idea. But the other pitch is kind of a more safety pitch. So an AI that interacts with humans is inherently in a multi-agent system. Humans change and adapt in response to the deployment of AI. So I just picked 3 different, things we could talk about in the class. By the way, I want this class to be very discussion forward. So if you have thoughts, opinions, please speak up. Like, we're not in a hurry. We want to actually understand these things and discuss them. But yeah, so you might have, who saw Your Brain on ChatGPT? All right, so if you regularly use language models for tasks, there's some cognitive deficits relative to people who don't. What do people think about this? Yes, nodding. Believe it? You want to say more?
No, I'm good.
Okay, we'll warm up. Yeah. Anybody have thoughts? Oh, yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
The ChatGPT is a complement model for Harvard that you two think together.
The ChatGPT is a symbiotic complement to you, and you and ChatGPT together are smarter than you alone. It's reasonable. Like, I was joking with my students, if you took away my Google Docs, I'd get a lot dumber because I've just offloaded a lot of what I know into docs and then I read them. I don't have that good of a memory, right? So if you took, I'm a symbiotic system with my Google Docs, right? It's just a tool. It's accelerating me. Any other thoughts though? Yes?
I asked Gemini how it answers questions. It says current research suggests that language models don't cause physical brain damage. They immediately
cognitive offloading. That's what we're talking about, right? Yeah, I saw an interesting comment that someone was saying people told the same story about calculators, right? How many of us are really good at doing math in their head versus think you're good at math in your head? Yeah, hand raise. All right, one guy. But a lot of us might offload to the calculator, right? Any other thoughts on this? Yes.
I feel like maybe if you're using it to maybe do things that you already know, I think maybe boilerplate code or something on that lines.
Yeah.
Or I feel like to that extent, then maybe it's okay.
Right.
But if it's something you don't accept, you have maybe very little knowledge on, and you might be okay, I'm going to come back to it. I'm going to be totally confused.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to be a little concerned. I'll be wait, am I maybe using it properly? I use it to learn.
Yeah.
Personally.
using it to like just offload work, I'm kind of, I kind of get a little scared of that.
I think that makes sense. And actually a perfect example, and I was going to talk about this in the syllabus thing, is this course is all about reading papers. And part of the how way you're graded, because we have to give you grades for something, is you're supposed to read a paper and put a summary into ed discussion. The summary is like a paragraph. This is an extremely easy task to just make the LLM do it. And we have no way to catch you really, or we're not going to bother. But if you do that, you're not going to get much benefit from the course. Like you have to actually read the paper. And I think writing it down has been shown to help you remember. So could you cheat with LLMs? Yes. Will you? Who's going to? KJ! Okay. So yeah, exactly. It's like if you get the LLM to do your work such that you can no longer learn from the work, and this is especially relevant when you're literally in school, then yeah, it's going to hurt you. So, and it's a competitive job market out there. So I recommend not learning while you're in school. That seems bad. Okay. Yes. So, and we need to consider how people best responding to AI will change our social equilibria overall. Like for education, right? We can't really assign take-home essays anymore unless it's just all on the honor system. And I don't think like the entire education system as a bureaucracy is able to cope with how rapid of a change that is, right? So what does that do? It's really interesting. Oh yeah, this was really crazy. Have you guys seen this? British Parliament evidence that since the release of ChatGPT, the idea that they, oh, like, so here's the ChatGPT release point, is this dashed line. The UK Parliament speech is kind of changed overnight to use a bunch of phrases that I rise to speak, for example, is kind of an American thing. You wouldn't say that in UK Parliament. And so it's evidence that overall these MPs are just like generating their speeches with ChatGPT. Has anyone seen this before? Okay, one person. So what do we think about that? That's crazy, right? Like, yes.
So there was an event happening in my neighborhood last year for the guy that's now the Washington State Attorney General.
Okay.
I was talking to him for a few minutes.
Yeah.
And he, was very nice, good at being a politician. So he asked what I do. And I said, oh, I do AI research. And he's like, oh yeah, I've been using ChatGPT to like help me like, brainstorm talking points for things he already knows he wants to do. But like,
Yeah.
how do I form it? So yeah, this is happening everywhere.
So it's like language is the way that we communicate in all sectors of human industry and like, you know what I mean? Like it's so fundamental, right? And if our politics are sort of then being drastically changed by the now being mediated by language models, and language models are have a particular take, like have a particular moral stance, have a particular political stance, like absorb certain biases, important biases from their internet-based training data. I mean, yeah, it's a lot. Any other? Yes.
Well, I was just thinking because I think the use of AI right now is like similar to like 1800s where calligraphy kind of died out.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like once you introduce like new technology, there's a skill that's always.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, no one cares how anyone type.
Right.
I think especially in like the software industry, I don't think in the next 10, 15 years people will care about how you write code.
Right.
It's going to be more like, can you design it?
Can you architect a system or something?
It's like I don't care how the code is going to run, but we can use one of these tools to efficient. And I feel like that's where AI is heading with like a bunch of different stuff. So like even in school where it's like you don't need to learn how to read, you just need to learn to get to the basics.
Yeah.
It's like that kind of balance. Yes, it helps, but at the same time it feels like it's killing off something.
Yeah. I think that's a good take and I like it. And I like the calligraphy analogy. I guess what worries me is that it feels like language is so fundamental to humans as a species. Like arguably, the development of what language is what facilitated sort of like all of subsequent cultural evolution, technological evolution, like every big information sharing technology has been such a drastic change. So if you think of like printing press, internet, this is such a impacting so much of what it means to share information among us. And it's a homogenizing factor, right? So we have a really cool plot. I'm so in love with this plot that shows Maybe I'll even draw it. You patience with me, guys, but it's basically showing like we took a data set of human written essays where they had their first draft and then they revised it to a second draft and we embedded in like a language feature embedding space, right? And we see like human essays are kind of occupying this space and the second drafts kind of move it all over like this, right? If you ask an LLM, I think it's like GPT-4o, to rewrite the essays according to the feedback that the humans got, it looks like this. It moves all the drafts to like a weird part of the embedding space that no human was